people roll in, of course, we can, the agenda is for follow, and of course, any questions, please, just interrupt me while I'm talking or anything like that. So the session is now being recorded, and welcome to our second GSA meeting, virtual meeting for the semester. And we're so happy for you to be here, and hopefully that you'll get a lot out of this because we have good amount of things planned, especially towards the end, and it'll be very informative, especially for the PhD students who are thinking about applying for the academic jobs out there. So first business though. So I think Christina, did you started the recording? Are you taking notes? I didn't know. I don't know if somebody take notes until we get a secretary. I can
take them again.
Okay.
I wasn't going to.
I was like,
And take them again.
Abigail says she can. She can take notes. So that'll be good. We need. All right. Roll call. I think we have that. Oh, okay. Yes, your microphone. Yes, we got it. Representatives, please just call out your name so we can do roll call.
My name is Justin Creedon.
My name is Ali Imami.
Alexis Sugg.
Warren Garrett. Chen Qian Huang.
Abby Dwyer.
Tomas Rodriguez.
Got you down.
Tina Collier.
And okay. I think is Denia here? I see her. Kevin is here. I think that. Yep. Okay, well, once everybody rolls, people are still trying to roll in, so we can get that started.
It's Manoj's photo.
Perfect. Okay. Are there any other representatives present that have?
It's Manoj. Did you hear me?
Yes, I got you.
Okay. Yeah, from College of Engineering.
Yep, gotcha. Is there anyone else?
Oh, sorry, Destiny Boutwell from the College of Arts and Letters.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that could be it, unless other people are coming in. But so first off, we're going to start with just the, again, introduction of the executive board and the representatives. So as far as the executive board and the special elections, they are still, as far as calls, they're still doing eligibility screening. And so those who have applied, you may have been contacted by Terry in terms of seeing what, other things that would have to be solidified before acceptance of such a position. So we're gearing to have that come next week with some announcements. We should have some results by then. So hopefully next month we'll be able to introduce you to 3 new e-board members. And also, as you can see from this extensive list, we have a lot of college representatives. And this is great because the representatives are the voting body, and we're going to have a lot of things we have a few things to vote on today. So if you are curious as far as seeing who your representative is, and to the representatives just to see who your cohort is, your colleague is, then please, I have a hyperlink right here that will take you directly to the representatives page of GSA, and then you can just meet your representatives. But also note that next week, there will be virtual office hours, of which those are also listed on the website as well. So that if you just wanted to stop in and or had a question for someone concerning GSA or the things that are the programs that we have, then that is what the office hour is for. It's just for if you wanted to drop in and ask any questions, clarifications, or just needed some information. But those will be starting officially next week, and you can find the schedule again on our website underneath the College Representatives tab. But of course, you can just click on the link as well. And yes, so moving along, last month we could not approve the minutes because we did not have quorum for our representatives. So I believe we should have quorum. Christina, do you think that we have quorum? Then 22. I believe we're supposed to have 10. I don't think we have quorum at this time right now either. So what we can do, okay, so actually we do have quorum. We have 11 reps. So I am making the motion to approve April 2020 and September 2020 minutes. Oh, 10 reps, okay. So actually we need one more rep. So hopefully somebody will come in. So we're going to, I forgot how to do the Robert's rules, but I rescind my motion. And we will revisit that once we hopefully get one more to pass those. But every meeting we're going to approve the minutes. We go by Robert's rules as far as just how to operate these meetings. So once we get at least one or two more representatives in here, then we can make that motion. But next up, we do have the budget report by our treasurer. So are you ready for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. Let me stop sharing my screen so you can share your screen.
Sure.
Okay, you're all set.
So, just a moment. Are you able to see my screen now? Are you able to see my screen?
It looks like it's loading. Oh, it's up.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, yeah. So thank you everyone for being in the meeting. So I'm Susan Subidi, treasurer of GSA for this year. So in fact, we had some of us had a meeting last week as well. So this one is the update. Is it until today? So I'd like to go forward. So until now, for 1 month, we have not been able to spin anything, but yeah, we have like some programs like conference registration reimbursement that is under way. It is in the COX, so hopefully it will be passed, and then we can spend the money that we used to spend in travel last year for the conference registration. And of course, we have incentives for the active members and reps as well. So and then this is all the stipends and the tuition that the officers of GSA will have. So until now we are able to spend. Yeah, we will go through that. Yeah, for the travel reimbursement has been canceled, of course, every one of us know, due to this pandemic. So any new development will be like circulated in timely manner. And funding events of the graduate and professional organization. So this is one of the important important program in which the GSA funds are utilized. So in this, the graduate they just send the proposals to us, and the budget. There is a budget review committee of 4 members, and including me, we have 5. So it reviews the proposal, and there are some guidelines. We can see the guidelines as well in our website. So of course, this meeting, today's meeting will vote on the new policies. There are a few policies that have been updated, and of course, I had sent you guys as well to the reps. So so that will be voted on today. So new policy will be on place from today. So after this will be reviewed by the budget review, it will be put forward to the representatives, and then it will be voted on in the General Assembly meeting. Of course, we don't have any proposals for today, but in other general assemblies we will have some, hopefully. So for this year, until now, budget review committee, we have 4 members: Christina and Lauren, Diwakar, and Alexis. And conference registration reimbursement. So yeah, I already said that this is a way. So Cox is reviewing the policies regarding conference registration. Of course, travel reimbursement has been cancelled. So in place of that, we are proposing this program. So more details will be forwarded to you all as soon as the policy takes a final step. So until now, conference reimbursement committee, we have, including me, we are 2. I mean, Alexis is in the committee. If anyone is interested to be in the committee, please email to me. So my email address is in there. And graduate research award. So this will be talked by Brittany as well in a little bit detail later. So of course, this research award provides financial support for the projects that is undergoing by any of the students, graduate students, and the maximum financial support is up to $2,200. So $2,000 is a base support for all of the graduate members, and additional $200 for members or a college representative. So yeah, it has already been open. I guess your colleges might have sent you notice as well. So applications for this are due by November 30 at 5 p.m. So you can find more information and in the website in GSA's. Okay, yeah, thank you. If you have any other questions regarding funding policy from GSA or event funding, please direct them to our Gmail or me or anyone from the EBO. So you can find more information from GSA website. So if you have any questions, yeah, you may ask me, or else I'd like to take one to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do have a question. So my name is Esther from the Department of Geography and Planning. I'm in my first year into the SISS program. So I would like to know your definition for active members because I'm new and I don't know what that entails. So I would like to know. Thank you.
So we're trying to actually still trying to work with that definition. However, how it stands is you are an active member if you have consecutively attended the meetings. I believe is 4 General Assembly meetings in a row. And then, or you can attend a General Assembly meeting and a committee meeting, or 2 committee meetings that could equate to, I think it's 2 committee meetings. That's how it is. Okay. Yeah. So it's like a combination. Yeah, so it's a combination. So you don't always have to be at the general meetings. However, a couple of committee meetings count as General Assembly meeting. Yeah. And so you would want to make sure to have that active status. I believe you were here last month. So you have, you're like almost there basically with the active status. But we are trying to, especially with the just other programs as well, with a lot of new first year students, we're giving a little bit of leeway, especially since, it's just a whole different kind of environment right now. So it could be, you could be eligible for this, but we would have to revisit that and just see some other things. But did I miss anything, Susan, about that?
No, yeah, good. So there's one as well. We are having MGRS in spring semester. So if you volunteer for that event or be a coordinator of that event, then you'll gain an active status as well.
Yes, I forgot. I can't forget about that. So yes, MGRS, that is the big research symposium, and if you are a volunteer or even a coordinator, then that is definitely active status. for that. And that the sign up, I believe, starts in the spring. It is April. It's usually the first weekend of April.
Yeah.
And that is once we get a vice president in here, then that person will be head of coordinating that with myself as a co-coordinator as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Christina have also pulled up a link there. Someone has pulled up. I don't know if that is Christina.
It was Christina. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Info about the activity status. Yeah, you can go through them and then find out more.
Yep. So all of the links as far as representatives, who we are as the e-board, and the active status, all of the links are in the chat. So that can, and just visit our website, just get a little bit more information about GSA in general. We're trying to do a lot considering the circumstances, but we definitely want to have a lot of participation. And of course, like you can see, if you're an active member, you get a little bit more incentive. And especially if you're in more of a leadership position within GSA, you get a little bit more incentive as well.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, were there questions? Okay. Let me share my screen again. Oops, there we go. That back up. And now I see that we have our quorum. So we're going to go back to the approval of our minutes. So I'm going to make the motion again to approve the April 2020 and September 2020 minutes. So do I have a second?
Justin Creedon, I second that.
Thank you, Justin. And we, Sujan, I didn't know, do we have to, considering what is going on right now, do we approve the budget this time, or are we waiting until we get further instructions? Oh, hold on. So we need someone to second Justin's motion.
My name is Abby, and I second Justin's motion.
Thank you, Abby. So we're all good, right? Okay, we're all learning here. There we go. We're learning here. So with the budget, I believe we also have to make a motion, but considering, again, what is going on, I'm not sure. Do you know if we do that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're gonna actually hold off on that, because once I get into a little bit more about the different programs that we have, and especially with the event proposals, then we'll discuss a little bit more about what is happening. So moving along, we have our external committee update. So the many meetings that myself and other e-board members attend throughout the university. So as you know, as Sujan has said, we have our GSA Research Award, which is due November 30th by 5 p.m. Now, a little bit more information there, the link is right there, but what in the past, there has been a lot of good, research topics, abstracts, and, we're looking forward to seeing what you all are going to submit, because this is definitely a big thing. And especially if you're in the start of your research and you need some sort of financial assistance or anything like that, this is definitely somewhere to, something you should apply for. And especially with budget cuts and what's going on, it's available right now. So please take advantage of this. We definitely want to make sure that this is readily available and that it keeps being readily available for the graduate students. So we look forward to reading your applications and just hearing about all the amazing things that you all are researching. And also we have our GSA newsletter. So Christina, who is our social media specialist, she is head of the public relations committee, which actually reviews the submissions for this newsletter. I believe it's the first of every month that this is due to the committee. So if you are interested, please submit. It can really range a lot as far as just the topics. So anything pertaining to, an experience, or just anything pertaining to tips, advice, something, sharing of stories. We really want this to be a resource for graduate students to go to. And Christina, did you have anything else to say about that? Just a little bit more?
I was just
that first of the month, you only have to send a topic idea, so you don't need to have a full article. And the reason why we ask for topic ideas first is just so we can see like how many people do plan to submit an article, so we can see like, is this going to be like a long newsletter or like a relatively short one, so we can kind of plan ahead. But so at the first of every month, the topics of your newsletter or of your article are due, and you can send those to me. And there's instructions on the website on what you should have like the subject of your email be. And then once you get confirmation, you have 2 weeks to send your final document, and then like the different like corresponding author information. But yeah, information can be found on the website. But if you have questions, feel free to ask now or send me an email.
Yes, so that is definitely something new that we started in light, again, what's going on. So another way of being connected and, just feeling not alone, basically. So this is just something that would help you along your educational journey. And hopefully, so the October newsletter will be sent out soon. They're finalizing it right now. And if you are interested in joining the Public Relations Committee or even the Budget Review Committee, please reach out to any of these, the chairs who are actually the e-board members as well. And the newsletters will always be sent out by the end of the month. So that's just something if you're feeling very creative and want to just share some wisdom. Okay. President Posto and Vice President Cockrell are searching for 5 to 7 graduate students for a new initiative. It's about 10 committees that they're trying to do as far as getting more, trying to modernize U Toledo per se. So they definitely are looking for graduate student opinions, graduate student perspectives, and there are, I forgot what the committees were, but it really is ranging all facets of how the university operates. And with that, if you're interested, please send your name and the program that you're in and the year in your program to both myself and then CC Anjali, who is the Vice President of Student Government. She is the one that actually reached out in order to try to get a list together. And I believe the deadline in which the president will want to announce this is December 4th. Yes, December 4th is the deadline in which everybody should be in these committees. So they just need 5 to 7 graduate students. If you're interested, please send an email. It's a great opportunity, and your voice will be heard. And it will help just graduate students in general, the future, how the future of U Toledo will look for us. And so that will be, as soon as you can, just send that because they're moving pretty fast with that. As far as the MGRS, we have confirmed our keynote speaker. She was actually the keynote speaker last year. So Dr. Christian Devana Fussell of the Ohio State University. So she's going to be speaking, and again, sign up will be open on spring 2021. So if you're interested in volunteering for coordination for this symposium, please, just wait a moment, but we will send out that list. Well, as far as the link for you to sign up to be volunteers pretty soon. And as always, please continue to follow the university guidelines of social distancing and mask requirements. The numbers are going up and we're in for a cold winter. So just remember that, and we're trying to keep these numbers down as well. Any questions so far before I move on to the next one? Okay. The coronavirus COVID-19 updates. So UTMC has been assigned to administer the testing. So they're doing throat swabs this time. And if you are contacted for random testing, they really want some more students to participate in this, and that's why you see a lot of the announcements, the incentives of gift cards and things of that nature, because they want to make sure and keep track of what's going on campus in regards to these numbers, and of course just to keep everyone safe, especially as we go for the holiday towards the end of the semester. So that could be another larger subject to come about when we return. But there are talks of maybe administering pop-up testing or anything to make it more accessible for students to have testing, well, before you leave for a holiday and after you come back. So more news, of course, will be shared either through just the university or GSA ourselves. So just keep a lookout in your emails and just other schedules concerning testing. I believe the health department also does testing too. So if you want some more information, here are the links regarding, again, the testing sites, what the university is doing, and just any other COVID related news. Graduate Council Executive Committee, what the projects that are happening right now, Dean Barry and Dr. Wendy, they are working on a graduate assistant guidebook. It's actually separate from the graduate handbook. So this is actually an idea that came about in order to clarify what exactly is a graduate assistant. What can we do? What can't we do? And what really are our responsibilities? So he's going to send out, well, actually, Dean Barry's asking for opinions on this document once everything is put together, really. And he would really like the opinions of, what should be in this handbook. What should they know about graduate assistants? And with that, I believe they should be rolling that out pretty soon, but they're working diligently on this because this has been a very big issue, a big conversation piece as far as what is our position here. We know, but everyone else, it seems as though that can be a little bit confusion going on in light of what's happening. So with that, keep a lookout. We'll send more information definitely about just gathering your perspectives on it. And once I get a chance to look at it, then we'll distribute it pretty soon. The Graduate Access Program, that is a new program that's coming up for international students. Is basically, from what my understanding is a very intense English training program that could help speed up some processes or just help speed up graduation due to language barriers or just not understanding how to put forth certain research or just grant proposals. It just helps better with English in general. And so that is rolling out pretty soon. Just had a little discussion about that today, a little introduction presentation for that. So you should be getting more information, if not already have heard about this, especially with the international students. But that would be happening pretty soon. They're just working with the logistics and getting everything finalized as well. And of course, the Rocket to Rocket and CARES Act, that is still available. The CARES Act funding is actually not, it's available until next May. That's when the university has to spend all of that money. So please take advantage of this. There's still a lot of money in there. We've heard some concerns as far as just the application process or just being eligible for this. So those have been given to like the leadership as far as these concerns. So they're trying to work as far as to make it easier for you to get these funds. But please utilize this. They really, really want to help all of us. And if you have any issues, of course, you can reach out to myself, Dean Barry, who is the Dean of COGS at this moment. And hopefully that will help a little bit more. Is there any questions for that one? Okay. The provost, we have a monthly meeting with her. With the commencement speaker is confirmed. She did not divulge who that was, but she said it's a very, very special guest. So I'm very curious as far as who this is and excited for those who are graduating just to see who this commencement speaker is. So that is a big thing that has been announced. Of course, winter intersessions, study abroad, and spring break are all canceled due to the fear of spreading the virus, and also just to keep everyone safe. So even then, concerning travel as well, since we're speaking of this, travel is still banned It's still restricted into the spring, and that is even grant funded as well. So grant funded travel or just any travel whatsoever is still restricted, and that's carrying over into the spring semester. Of course, they're focusing on intense recruitment due to the virus and the drop in enrollment numbers. So that you see a whole bunch of emails or just different things in order to attract new students or to maintain the current students, then this is why they're really trying to build up those numbers. And of course, leadership and professional development workshops, they're going to be available soon as well. That's part of the recruitment and retention. And apparently they had hired someone who is very knowledgeable and an expert in both of that, and are working to develop certain sessions and workshops that we can take advantage of. So once I received any more information on when, where, and just what time, then we will pass it on to you. The Student Advisory Committee that we have with Dr. Flapp, the spring semester, it will begin on January 19th and end on May 7th, and May 8th is the commencement. Now, there is talk again of testing that it may be required for students to return on campus, especially those who live on campus. However, that has not been finalized, but they're still talking about it. So that is just something to keep in mind as you return from your break. Also, the laptop loaner program that is still available up until the end of, I believe, the end of exam week. So if you need a laptop right now, reach out to the IT help desk and just say that you need a laptop, and they will lend one out to you for whatever work that you would need for your exams. And this is just to help with that gap that has been definitely growing since this. The Campus Vote Project, that voting is, the election day is coming up. So transportation to vote for the next 3 weeks is every Thursday and Friday. So this Thursday and Fridays between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. at the Student Union, you have to sign up in the Office of Multicultural Student Success. And also absentee ballots and stamps are also available in this office if you cannot make it to the polls. After the election, they are saying that they're going to have spaces for students who would like to process what's going on after the election, who would just want to just talk, and just to vent what has happened. But those will be available. I believe they did this last year as well. So if you would like to take advantage of that, they should be located in the Student Union. But more information, of course, will come out about that too. Committee updates. I think we could have a little bit about that, but we are still searching for members who would be interested in being part of these committees. Again, it's a hyperlink that will take you directly to the page for our committees, and just take a look and see which would interest you. They definitely would like some more people, some more hands on deck as we try to make GSA as normal as possible right now. But in any event, we would just want some more participation, especially with professional development, public relations, definitely research and development, because a lot of the ask for student opinions and perspectives, that is a big thing that's and actually a constant subject that we have been hearing about as Toledo changes. So just if you're interested, please reach out either to myself, or I believe the website should be a little bit more up to date as far as who are the chairs, but reach out to them as well, and that'll be a great opportunity. Of course, this counts towards your active status, because the committees have to have at least once a month meetings, and this just try to host, if you are part of like a committee that handles events per se, just try to get that at least I believe once a semester if you're doing an event. But those are the committees that we have right now. Are there any questions as far as what committees, or did you have any questions specifically about how the committees work. I mean, it's a good experience. It's fun organizing a lot of things when it comes to the committee. So, but any questions about that though? Okay. So, old business. As I've said before, we have to approve the amendments and the Constitution as a whole. The Constitution, actually, let me stop sharing this. Bring up the other one. There we go. So the Constitution in itself, we have to approve this every year. And since we did not have quorum last time for our representatives, then we could not vote on it. And at that time, we also we're still trying to figure out what, how do we go about this as far as the process of amending this. So here is the Constitution. This has been looked at by the Constitution Committee as well, as far as the changes needed. Now, for background context, let me actually get to the part where we need to amend. There we go. So the purpose of this amendment is actually to give a little bit of flexibility for those who are interested in being on the executive board. When the executive board was first elected in April, elections always happen April towards the end of the semester for the new e-board. However, the actual position goes until June 30th, and then that's when you transition into the new team. So with that, there are some eligibility restrictions. One of that is that you would have to complete at least 20, 15, 10 hours depending on your position. So in my case, since I am president, I have to do at least 20 hours, and that is paid by GSA. Now, that is in itself just if I did not have an assistantship. So in the event that you don't have an assistantship, you are required to do 20 hours and you are paid for 20 hours. Now, if you do have an assistantship, such as myself, then that's where it kind of got complicated for that, because it really came down to how are we getting paid, and can we get paid from two different pots. So the first one is basically what we had to do was specify how you can get paid. So again, I will use myself as an example. I have a 20-hour assistantship, and GSA requires me to do 20 hours. So as a domestic student, I am eligible to do at least 5 extra hours, of which I will get paid. So in that essence, I can still keep my assistantship, but then get paid 5 hours from the GSA fund per se. Whereas my 20 hours is still covered by my department fund, or however I am paid through an assistantship. Now, of course, this will vary as you see going down with the positions here. So what came about was that with the domestic students, you would be able to do your 5 extra hours. However, the remaining hours, they will be strictly volunteer. Now, if you are an international student, that's different, because you are just restricted to 20 hours. You cannot go over that. So what we had to propose was, as far as the international students, was to split that. So when I mean splitting, is that 10 hours will be paid from the assistantship fund, and then 10 hours will be paid from GSA. So that gave a little bit of flexibility as far as who can be in these positions. Apparently, it was an issue every single time a new team came in, and they had to try to alleviate it in some way. But this is kind of that bulletproof way in order to offer that flexibility. Now, of course, you don't have to worry about this if you do not have an assistantship. However, this opens up a lot of students for the possibility of getting into positions. So there were the proposed changes to this constitution is that it just specifies what is and what is not, student worker hours and student commitment hours per se. So this is the wording that was created by our treasurer. And this actually has been going on since we transitioned, which was in the summer. We've been going back and forth and it with Cause, and Cause has been working with us great with that. And this is what came out of that. So what we would have to do is first review this, see if there's any questions, and then we can vote whether to accept or have it revised again or straight out rejected. However, that will depend on the discussion piece. So as far as I think one of our both of our constitution people are on here. So as far as how we do the constitution, do we open the floor for discussion as of now? I'm not sure. I believe we have to open up for discussion right
So,
now.
Brittany, so for this, for an amendment to the Constitution, we presented at this meeting. The floor is open for discussion, and usually you adopt that in the next meeting, like the vote happens in the next meeting. It is possible to have an expedited vote under extreme or special circumstances. But I would say if we can wait until the November meeting, we should, because that's the procedure.
Gotcha. Yeah, that actually sounds about right. So with that, here is the presentation for the amendment. And can everyone see that? I don't think, let me make sure and have a little bit, hold on. There we go. So now the floor is open for discussion concerning this. And then it will be voted upon in the next meeting. So the floor is now open for discussion. Or is there any discussion? Thanks, Abby.
I can raise a point if necessary.
Sure.
I'm just looking it over right now, but Ali, yeah, if you have something, walk us through it. Tell us what you got.
No, actually, I just have it because I've reviewed this before. I think this is a very appropriate change. This does not change anything in the way it works. It does open doors for newer people, for more people to be an active part of GSA. So I think this should not be debated too much. I don't have anything against that. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
I agree with that. After looking it over, I think I don't see any problems with it. Brady, perhaps you can help me figure out how to officially motion for the next step.
Okay. Well, I think as from what it is, it's we're just talking about it, and then we're going to. I don't know if we have to do a motion for this one. We're just discussing it, and then we're just going to vote on it next month.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, this is just to get everybody's feeling about this. If there's any changes that we may have not thought about, this is really just to get some more input. And I think it does open up a lot of doors, and it really is straightforward as far as, what is expected. And it shouldn't, from this, it shouldn't cause any more issues.
Oh, it's working now. I was trying to speak for like 5 seconds. Okay.
Aaron, hi.
I'm so sorry, y'all. I was trying to add to the discussion, but WebEx literally hates me. But I think it's good. My one question is so it's saying that you can tell COGS that you can work lower hours. So are we saying that the hours a executive board person works now is adjustable?
It depends on if you have an assistantship. If you do not have an assistantship, you are required to do 20 hours, 15, 10, whatever position that you're for, that you want. This is part of your job. Now, if you have an assistantship,
Sorry, I just want to clarify. You have to work the hours. It's just you won't get paid for all of those hours. So if you are the president, you have to work 20 hours. But let's say how Brittany has an assistantship for 20 hours, she can only get paid an additional 5 hours from GSA, but she's still required to work those 20 GSA hours on top of her 20-hour GA ship for her department. So the hours are not negotiable. It's more what's negotiable is whether or not you accept the payment. So like, are you getting your funding from your department solely, or is it better to split it through your department and GSA, or are you just going through GSA? So you still need to work the amount of hours, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yep, you're good now.
All right, that makes sense to me. I may just be in a super lawyer right now, but I think if we're here to tell the next e-board, whoever, that's the provision, that's fine. But the language itself as a stand does not explain that. We don't have for the changing of hours requires an assistantship or anything like that. So if a next GSA who reads this constitution, let's say we're deleted and a completely different person of GSAs come in and look at our constitution, that's not what they're going to read. They're going to read it as adjustable. So I think we just need a language change to get our idea across, just so we don't have, because I could read it like this and I could go to this county fair with it, with how the language stands. So I think that's all I'm advocating for the discussion. Maybe a change of language a little bit, or add the words. Only, let's say a GSA executive member can only change their prospective hours if they have a graduate assistantship. I think having that exact language will clean this up for me.
Okay. Because I'm trying to actually see. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point, Aaron. But that is partially we had this ambiguity by design. So we did not want to have it stick to just the graduate assistantships. There might be other things that could interfere with that. So that was the idea, that you have to work 20 hours, but you can only get paid for this amount. So you work for this, and then for the other ones, they would be counted as service, student worker hours or service commitment. So that's the idea. To restrict that might make it a very special case, which means that if something new comes along, which, for example, I'm a Fulbright scholar, which means that my funding does not come from the university at all. But my work gets to be a part of the university's work, so I cannot do either of those things. That's just so I cannot fit into any of these categories. So that's why I think it's good to have that door open. Otherwise, every time we hit a special case, we would need to amend the constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. What you're saying. I love your points. And so the answer to ambiguity is usually either we put in prevention that they can only change this with approval by our judicial committee, which I think we have, or by the general floor. I think getting the leeway of us all to say, hey, I can only work 10 hours or something like that just because of this. We're all understanding people. We're adults. We can have that conversation. I think just
This could also be solved pretty easily by just stipulating that the hours that they work can't change, but the hours that they get paid can change. And then I think that solves the problem.
That's fair. I think we're just all getting to the point of just a language change may need to occur. I think we're just gonna have to work on what it looks like. I think that's the only thing I would send back to committee.
And I highlighted this sentence too. It said, in such a case, the officer must notify the COGS in writing the number of student hours they are committing and remaining hours as service commitment hours to maximum hours as above. So that's kind of like getting to that point, because I could have said that, okay, I just want to get paid for 4 hours, but I still have to do my 16, and that'll just be volunteer. So that is really a discussion with COGS, and that's why I said as required by COGS, subject to change. And that was definitely a little insert that we put in there because it could change. We don't know, but this has been happening every year. But we can definitely look back over that so we can make sure that it's direct and understood what is expected.
Yeah, so I also want to add one point. Like the first sentence, we have written officers are required to complete the total number of hours for respective positions. So there is a like hard and fast provision as well. Officers are required. They will have to do these 20 hours and 15 hours, 10 hours. Did you get my point? I mean, we have something to say that you have to complete the 20 hours for a president and 15 hours for the vice president. So yeah.
Yeah. And it is understood and actually taught between COGS, your advisor, your department, college, all that. Everybody is aware of what you are doing and how many hours you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Is there any more discussion?
I think if it's doable, we can actually add the provision that this particular section could be changed because these are the bylaws. You can change just by the Constitution Committee.
Yes, the Constitution Committee is going to get together very soon for this.
Yeah, we could add. That's what I'm saying, that we could add the provision that this particular section could be amended without a general approval by the entire assembly. That's something that we can add if it's if it's agreeable to the General Assembly itself, because then we can expedite it. In case there's a problem, we can expedite that change, and then we can talk about that. We can make that change, and we can talk about that change in the next meeting. Oh, we did this. If you have a problem, if you have any issue, we can address that.
Perfect. Okay, I'm keeping track of time. We got we can do like five more minutes. Okay. Any other discussion before we close the floor? Okay. All right, so the Constitution Committee will get together and review this. And then we will present it again at next month with the hopes of it to be voted upon as well. So let me switch really quick to our amendment. Okay. Okay. So that was our old business. So new business, as we had talked about the proposals, those are actually tabled for right now due to some confusion as far as campus funding of campus events. So we have to get back to that. But I believe, Sujan, did you want to present just the general guidelines for funding the events or just wait for that?
Yeah, I can do that now.
Okay. Did you need the screen or no?
Yeah, I will need.
You need it? Okay, I'll stop.
Okay. To see the screen?
Yeah, we see your screen.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Brittany. So yeah, we have just revised the guidelines for funding the campus programs, and of course, in this pandemic, all of the events, if that is an in-person, should be like I'm just saying the major changes that we have done. You can just see in the website itself, but the major changes are like you need to register for the event if that is an on-campus, and if that is virtual, even we encourage that to register, but if that is not even register, that can be fine. So the other major changes are like yeah, while submitting the proposals for the campus events, you need to have the breakdown of the expenses for the previous year's event. So if that is a similar kind of event, we obviously want this one as well. So it has been, because it has been like the Cox has started to see this over very seriously. So the other thing changed are like even in the proposal itself, we need to have a flyer because of you should have been already done with your flyer by that time. So we need to have that flyer even while proposing. And the other thing more important is that we will need to have index and account number of department proposal itself. So, and the other thing is like if your proposal, if the organization proposal is like approved by the General Assembly, then they put the GSA logo, and that will again be, the size will again be decided by the executive board and the budget review committee. And the other thing, the important changes we have made is that yeah, these are the important changes that we have made for this year, and all of this is like document in our website. Christina can pull up that link, and if you have other questions, yeah, you may just ask anyone of the board or me directly. There are a lot of scrutinizations done by folks, so we will have review the proposals very finely. So yeah, please bear with us for any kind of updates. Yeah. So thank you, Brittany. So is there anything I need to add? Stop sharing. Okay. So if you have if anyone has any questions, yeah, you may feel free to ask now. I'm not being able to hear Brittany.
Yeah, sorry. Does anyone have any questions for that?
Yeah.
I don't. Were you seeking you were seeking is correct? Or just to talk about it, what we're doing?
Oh, yeah. I think yeah, we can. This has been already approved by Cox, so we can approval.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I don't think we would have to. Yes, already been approved by COG. So
yeah,
that is really just just introduction of what the guidelines are for the campus events. As I've said before, we're still trying to work on that with COGS concerning what we can and cannot spend on when it comes to student events. So once we get more information and of course more clarity on that, then we will definitely submit that information and let you all know. So if you have, or if someone has encountered you and asked you, how can I get my event funded, you'll have that information. But these are just some updated guidelines considering what is going on, and of course, budget restrictions of what is expected when you are asking for some assistance. So was there any questions for that before we move along? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me share again. Almost there. And then we can start our panel. I see our panelists are coming in. So wrapping this up, remember, Election Day. Election Day is November 3rd. So information on where and how to vote, early voting has started now. So Lucas County, OhioVotes.gov is where you can go. Also, you can check out the Board of Elections through the City of Toledo website as well. Also, the U Toledo Engineering Council, they are having their Hallow Engineering event. So it is virtual and it's on October 29th. So please feel free to support them and see what they have in store for the kids. Veterans Day, November 11th, no class. Of course, our next GSA meeting is on the 18th. So be sure to attend that. We have Thanksgiving break of no classes. And final exams are November 30th with fall virtual commencement to follow December 6th. Also, let me see, I have another announcement. The Black Graduate and Professional Student Association is having a presidential debate watch party via Zoom that is taking place on October 22nd at 9 p.m. So we will we will let you know as far as the link and share that link with you so you can join them. But yes, it's a watch party. And that should be interesting, very much so.
We're pretty lit people. Y'all should come.
Yes. So please get on there. It should be very, very fun. Also, I think that actually wraps up our business for today. Is there anything for the greater good that you wanted to share before we switch over to our panel session? Okay. All right, well, let me stop sharing my screen. And now we are going to switch over to our panelists for today. So the GSA e-board felt that it was necessary to be a little bit more interactive, offer a little bit of variety when it comes to these meetings. And we were just like, why can't we just have a panel with, as far as just different topics that we talk about each month concerning graduate student life. So tonight, what we're going to talk about, as you've probably heard me say a lot of times, is, how to prepare to get into the academic job market. It's very different from the regular job search, as they will definitely tell you. I'm in the middle of it right now, so it starts early for PhD students. That's why the timing of this session. So please, our panelists, would you want to introduce yourselves? Make sure I have, everybody.
I'm not sure who's on yet, but hi, my name is Eileen Walsh. I am this Associate Dean, College of Nursing. So I'm really excited to be here. I've worked in the private sector many times, interviewing not only students, but faculty, staff in the nursing world, plus the medicine group. So they were either vascular fellows, vascular residents, or physicians too. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I can go next. Hi, my name is Osu Ayamoa. I am a recent graduate from University of Toledo. I got my PhD in spatially integrated social science in the Department of Geography in December of 2019. And I'm currently a postdoc scholar at Case Western Reserve, doing a lot of social science research, mostly. My current project is on COVID, the spread of COVID, and how parent and childcare programs are dealing with that in Ohio. So that's what I've been doing. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Yes, we were in the same program.
Yeah.
And of course, Dr. Lawrence, go right ahead.
Hi, Brittany. Yes, my name is Dr. Patrick Lawrence. I'm a chair and professor in the Department of Geography and Planning here at the University of Toledo. I've been here, this is my 22nd year, and I've mentored a number of graduate students. And as a faculty member, department chair, I've also been in the process of I've hired and interviewed candidates for academic positions here at the University of Toledo and wrote letters for other and served on other committees. So I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any input to help students think about the next steps beyond graduate program and thinking about academic careers. So thanks for inviting me, Brittany.
Not a problem. Thanks for even being here. I know just evenings and it's getting dark earlier, so it can be hard. Yeah, exactly. As you look out the window, it's super dark. But yes, again, thank you for just being here and taking the time to really inform our students as far as what to expect being on the academic market. We do have some pre-submitted questions that you've already received as well. So we can just hop right into it. And however you will want to answer as far as turns, please just, it's all up to you. So the first question is, how do I become a competitive applicant on the job market?
Well, that's a great question, actually. We could spend a lot of time, I guess, talking about that one in particular. I think the key is to have, you know, a diverse portfolio, right? So you obviously have your standing as a graduate student. You're going to have your degree. You're going to have your coursework, the research expertise that you've developed. So that's the building block of that. But also keeping in mind, you know, it's extremely competitive. There are just fewer and fewer full-time permanent academic positions. There are still a fair number of graduate students coming out of programs across the country, the world for that matter. And so you've got to diversify your portfolio. So when I talk to my students, we talk about everything from, you know, conference presentations, building networks, right, of professionals, other schools, going to events when it was possible to do that, but at least through virtual events, still keep up that level of activity. You want to be thinking about, you know, research, getting that published, either starting that process, talking early on to your advisor, whether you're a master's student or a PhD, about that process and the opportunities that might be available. So at the very least, you have that experience. Opportunities to teach, get in the classroom, right? That's going to be helpful. It's going to set you above. If you have an opportunity in this program or for PhD students, getting closer to finishing the degree, maybe opportunities to teach part-time. I did that when I was a graduate student my last semester. I taught a course, another institution while I was finishing up. So I think the key is, you know, you really have to set yourself above others. You've got to have this wide skill set. And I think the networking is extremely really important. You begin to think about the field you're going into, right? What graduate program, or sorry, what academic programs are available? What are the large programs? What are the smaller programs? Where can you find information about hiring? So ask questions. And I think the final point I'd like to make is, you know, reach out to your mentors, right? So you have advisors, you have faculty members, others you might be aware of, other students, alumni, about advice, about suggestions where to find out about jobs. You just can't do it in isolation, and you have to sort of be very proactive about it and not sort of wait and think, oh, I'm about to finish or I'm graduating. Now I'm going to start looking for a job. As they say, that's not the time. You want to be starting a bit earlier on the process as you can.
I think for me, one, I mean, in addition to all that Dr. Lawrence has said, the other thing to be competitive is to format your resumes or your CVs for like each job that you apply. I think for some of us, we have this resume and we send it to any job application, like we just send it anywhere. But one thing that I learned, like when I started applying for jobs, is you have so much skills, you've done a lot, and sometimes it's not relevant for some of the positions that you apply. So you need to like figure out what are they looking for in this position, and how do I stress my strength in that aspect of my experiences so that they will know that I have it, instead of putting everything out there for them to look through it and find, okay, which one do we need, which one don't we need. So that's one thing. And also with having mentors, I think for me, like my advisor was really supportive, and like she even offered to look at my application materials for me. I mean, even if they don't offer, I'm sure if you ask, they'll be willing to go through it for you, look at your cover letters, look at like your teaching statements, your research statements. So that was really helpful as well.
Great. I would just like to chime in, and I think everything that was stated before is perfectly spot on with what you need to do. So I would just like to pick up on a few things. One is Dr. Lawrence had said you want to be above, but I think you want to be above as well as apart from somebody. So how does your resume or CV look different from somebody? So I always use the analogy that if there was a stack in the old world of paper resumes or CVs or job applicants, and they all fell on the floor, how would you organize them? So if they all fell on the floor, typically we go with the ones that look the best or have more of an attractive font or whatever. So I think the look of your resume or CV is really important. And even though we're in a digital world, we still do print those out often for group interviews and things like that. The other thing I'd love to pick up on is the faculty review of your portfolio or your application. So that can't be underscored enough, because the faculty can help guide you and give you those words that are maybe just a little bit more specific to content areas that you should include for that particular position you're applying for. So that was another great point you had too, that maybe each of your applications needs to have a different position statement based on that desired position, specifically using words from their mission statement or their vision, if it's a industry or whatever. So you should probably pick up on those ideas as well. So I think there's a lot. The first question is really all encompassing. We could say a lot, but I'm sure you want to get to some of the other questions too. So I'll mute me here for a minute.
No, you actually brought up really good points, and especially with the look of it, attraction of the resume. So that leads into the other question is, what can I do to improve my application if I'm in my final years of graduate school and do not have a lot of publications?
Well, one thing I think Dr. Lawrence mentioned was presentations too. So be sure to look at those presentations. So if you have just 1 year to go, how can you do a podium presentation or submit an abstract somewhere or help teach a class or something like that that would augment your skill set? The other thing too is I think you need to look at the actual terminology you use in your actual resumes. So for instance, if some of the people, and I don't know if there's any nursing ones in here, but I've reviewed a lot of engineering resumes and things too. So sometimes you have to, or business, so you have to use the buzzwords they use. So if it's more current to use, like in our world in nursing or medicine, it's evidence-based practice or clinical guidelines. Or if you're doing supply chain, you need to just use the words in your statement or in job responsibilities that you've done to try to help. But I think that gets off track a little bit about your question. Your question was, what can you do in the last year to kind of beef up your resume? So somebody else might want to chime in.
I don't know whether it's really final year, but in terms of beefing up your application, one thing we probably need to emphasize here is having strong letters of reference. So that's part of the networking part. So you've been here in graduate school for a few years. If you're a PhD student, maybe it's a bit longer than a few years. You should have developed, mentors and faculty members you've worked with. And no matter what kind of job you're applying for, and if we think of the academic job, letters of reference are very, very important. When we have an opportunity to hire here, whether it's a part-time or whether it's a tenure track job, letters of reference carry a lot of weight. We read those very carefully. And so thinking about who those individuals would be, talking to them so they're familiar with your background, getting a sense of their comfort level, what they might want to focus and emphasize on, because maybe they know you differently. Maybe they were on your committee, maybe you took a course with them, some other capacity. But so I think that's something when you're putting these applications together, think very carefully about the letters of reference and talk to those individuals, ask them if they provide a letter. And it was mentioned before, you want those letters to be customized, right? So they need to be aware, okay, Dr. Lawrence, I'm applying to this postdoc opportunity, or I have a chance to work at a community college, or I have a job opportunity I'm looking at or a tenure track job in Colorado State, then making sure that those letters are customized to fit those jobs, share the job ad with the person writing the letter, what needs to be emphasized, just as your letter and application needs to be. The letters really need to link closely to the particular job and kind of allows the company or the institution is hiring you to really know that you're a good fit for that particular position.
I think with that question, I feel like I was in that position in my final year because our program does not require you to publish. Some PhD programs requires that you have published maybe 2 journal articles, like as a lead author or a co-author before you graduate, but our program doesn't require that. So it's like you are just working on your dissertation, trying to graduate. But one thing that helped me was I co-authored a publication with 3 of my friends from undergraduate. They also have PhDs, and some are in Australia. We just came together and decided to write something. So I had that publication as something that was published. So when I applied, they asked for writing samples. So I gave them that, and then I gave them a chapter of my dissertation that used the methods that they were asking for. And I think, yes, having a published paper is great, but then if you don't, you have so many opportunities to make up for some of that. And especially with your dissertation, you can pick a chapter that is really great, let them know that you are working on publishing that, you are still in the process, but you haven't published it. So that can be, supports your application.
So, I know we're talking a lot about the scholarship that supports your application, but the other key thing too is a lot of you are leaders here in the student organization. So don't forget to highlight your leadership role. If you were doing tent city, like in the nursing world, a lot of our students do maybe like tent city, or they help with the graduate or the, we have a student nurse association, and yours would be comparable graduate association. If you have a leadership role or anything, that really speaks well to your ability to organize. So I think those are key things. Also, too, in the nursing world, we have other projects that emphasize teamwork and other skill sets that could maybe offset what may make you a little different from everybody else.
In terms of publications, I think there's this sort of sense as, well, I don't have the publications. But I think you also need to realize that, you're in a graduate program, there may not be an expectation that you have publications already out. What is often worth investing time and energy in is the initiative to start generating publications. So it shows us that you have a paper in press in that, or when you have a venue that you're going to publish. And so you've started that process. And whether your program requires it or not, I would highly advise, if you're looking at a permanent academic job, that you take the initiative to at least start the path. My PhD program didn't require it, but in my last year, I worked on 3 publications, and they were in the pipeline when I graduated. So I had some indication that I had done that. I spoke to my advisor, and he was more than happy to support me in taking some of that initiative. And it goes a long way if you understand the process, especially if you're going into an academic position where research and publishing is going to be part of what that job is going to be requiring. Showing that initiative that you understand a little bit. It could be co-authored with other students, with your faculty member, your mentor, or it could be something you worked on your own. That initiative can go a long way, and when you don't necessarily have publications that are listed because they've actually been in print.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's like, that actually hit my spot because that's the same situation I'm in, but I have at least one publication. But yeah, that helped out a lot. I'm actually going to switch it up to ask this question. How difficult is it for an international student to get an academic job as compared to a domestic student?
Well,
You might want to take that.
Student, I mean, I cannot tell like whether it's difficult or easier, but I can tell like a lot of my colleagues that I did undergrad with in Ghana who came here for a PhD. I think almost of them, all of them has a job. They have faculty positions. So I don't know. I think that for me, that makes me feel like, oh yeah, it's really not dependent on whether you're an international student or not, because for universities, they didn't have to go through like any how do you call it? So like the doing your H1B and all that, they can just do it for you instantly. It costs them money, but it's not like, oh, I may lose this faculty if I don't get that for the person. So I think in academia, I think it's much easier to get in academia as an international student as far as getting your document than getting into a private industry. I feel like it's much, yeah, that's just how I feel. But I don't have any data to prove that. Just my friends that I know.
Yeah, I think it is on the student side. It's certainly an extra level of stress or concern. I am not a U.S. citizen. I came here from Canada on a temporary work visa, and I don't have a green card, so it can be done. And I think Ozwan is very right. I mean, generally speaking, across academia, I think you'll find institutions of all various shapes and sizes tend to be, I think, generally more receptive and willing to hire and support new faculty or other positions that are international students, maybe perhaps more than you'd find in industry, especially smaller companies that aren't really multinational. So I don't, you're here, you're on a student visa. Certainly it's worth having some understanding and speaking to the folks at the International Students Office, what the next steps would be. And typically when you're interviewing for jobs, or if they, in the job description, you need to be legally eligible to work in the US. So you need to be prepared to answer that question as to where your status is and what the next steps would be. But I don't think you necessarily see a barrier, again, in academia of not hiring. A lot of departments are very much international in their way, shape, and form, and how they're structured in terms of personnel. So I know it adds a whole nother level of uncertainty and stress, but it's not a deal breaker by any means.
Yeah, I was just going to comment though too, in the private sector, we've hired a lot of fellows, vascular fellows from different countries around the world, Nepal, all sorts of places. So you'd be astonished how many are from all different places. And it was very facilitatory to help get their paperwork in order and make it a smooth transition for themselves and their families. So I think it's probably it's much easier nowadays, I would surmise. And in the academic world too, we're always looking for different representation of different cultures, different diversity from people, and people with different ideas to share. So I think the universities are a great place too, because everyone's accepted for what unique experiences and talents they bring to this setting.
You're also graduating with an advanced degree with very specific skill set, technical or otherwise. So that's a different path for getting a work visa and getting hired than it would be for many other international folks who come to the US, looking to get a job. The advanced degree puts you on a path along with the technical skills that provides, a path so that employers will consider hiring you, and a process by which the federal government will allow them to hire international students because of advanced degrees and specialized skill sets, technology, etc.
Thank you for that. And actually, you kind of answered another question as well. So as far as just the chances of an employer hiring international students, so it's good to hear that it's not an obstacle, not a barrier. So another question dealing with international students: how do I qualify for EB-1A and EB-1B green card applications?
Well, what I tell students who ask me about questions like that is, you don't want the advice from me. I'm not the expert. So I always make sure when I'm dealing with students here, for example, that they should be seeking out that advice. Our International Studies and Students Office, led by Sarah Clark and her staff, are fantastic resources. and they're there to help students figure out the pathways, not only to be here as students, but the next steps. So, the laws are changing. It's very complex. It changes almost weekly these days. So I don't tend to do that. If I do know they can talk to people. I've directed them there. I've spoken to some of the staff, so I have some general understanding. But I think it's best in questions like that to really talk to the experts, because the rules and regulations are complex, and yes, they're changing frequently. And start having those conversations so you know what's going to be expected of you. You're going to know a little bit what that process is going to look like, what documentation you're going to have, what the timeline will look like if you're reaching graduation, and how long your student visa, et cetera, and things like CPT and other OPT and other opportunities that might be available. Those are the folks you really want to be having those conversations with before you graduate, so you know what path is going to be available to you. You can prepare for it.
I was going to say the exact same thing, because we've met with them to set up some international programs to study, and they're fantastic. And I would just ditto to that, to just get on their radar very quickly, so that they know and they can get to know you, because they'll be very helpful for you in the long run. I think it's really prudent for you to follow up with them promptly, and then you'll get a lot better advice.
Okay, thank you. Another question: what resources did you use to find job postings?
So one of the things that I tell my students, and I think it applies to everybody, is be involved with whatever professional associations exist nationally or internationally. Do they have a student chapter? Do they have student membership? That's a portal into an organization in your profession, right? And within that will give you access opportunities for the networking connections. Our students, we direct them to several of these. Those organizations are often very well set up to support students. They provide information about job searches, career opportunities, job postings. So that's going to be an important and right within your discipline or area of specialization, because you try to go too broad with this search, it gets very difficult. You need to start figuring out, okay, I'm going to grant this degree, I'm looking at this career path, developing that professional networking. So professional organizations are going to be really important to that. Again, the networking in the profession with your mentors to help provide you advice as to where should I be looking? Where can I find job ads? Is there a listserv, that I can join? Is there a website? Is there a blog? These are out there. And again, a lot of the professional organizations are very much geared towards students, because students are the future of our discipline. And so looking for that information so that it's not like a job search and more of I want to work somewhere in Toledo. And yes, there are things like Ohio Jobs and other places that will direct you there. But for an academic search, you really need to understand within your discipline, the key professional organizations that are your gateway to that kind of information.
So along those same lines, if you have an invitation to join an honor society, and I don't know all of your backgrounds, I know many of you probably are not nursing, but we induct so many students into the honor society, and often students will either think that that's spam, their email, or they don't have the money to, because the first time the students do have to pay a nominal amount for their membership. They say, oh, I need to spend that money on something else. I would just encourage you that might be money well spent that'll provide dividends downstream, so that you could really showcase that, because only a certain percent of the graduating class can be in honors. And I'm sure you have honors in many of your professions that I'm picking up that you're probably likely to be a part of. So I would definitely say try to do that. And also, anytime, I agree with the blogs, and anytime you can get on with even a local, you could even find a local mentor in your area, that would be helpful. And I find that many of the job positions that come up are word of mouth, especially in small places. Toledo's like a big little town, if you will. So a lot of the jobs that we find, it's by word of mouth. We had a company this summer, I happen to know the human resource manager, he needed students that he would be willing to pay a nice hourly rate to do temperatures. So that's a very lower level thing, different from you guys graduating, but it's like knowing connections. So I would definitely say take advantage of any meet and greets and opportunities, as others have said too.
In addition to that, I did like sign up to like Chronicle of higher education jobs. It's a website that has like some education jobs, and then higher ed jobs.com also, and then LinkedIn. I kind of set up my LinkedIn. I think that's one thing that most of us don't think of, but you need to establish your presence, because whenever like you apply for jobs, trust me, they go look you up like, who is this person? So like, you want to make sure that you have that updated and has your current, the things that you've been doing, the experiences that you have on your resume, make sure that it matches what you have on LinkedIn, so that whoever goes there knows what you're up to. And another thing that I did was I emailed all the people that I've worked with over the past years that were in positions that I think they could be publishing positions there. So I drafted an email. I sent it to all of them. Hey, I'm graduating in December. I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for these kind of positions. I have this experience. Then I attached my resume or my CV to it for the person. I mean, a lot of them responded that, oh, great. Like if anything comes up, we will let you know. And then I also like looked at all the universities within a certain radius of Toledo. I went to their website, like their career site, because I think sometimes the jobs appear there earlier than like they show up on LinkedIn or anywhere else. So that's also something that I did. And actually, the job that I have now, that's how I found it. And I reached out to them like after I saw it, and yeah, I was able to. So I feel like use any avenues that you have. Your professors from master's program, professors from your undergrad, let them know that you are looking for a position, because those departments you can work there too. So if they are looking for somebody, they'll definitely send it to you and let you know. And you can reach out to all students to like, if I know you are looking for a job and there's something at where I am, I will definitely share it with you.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. That's a great thing that you did. That's wonderful. And especially LinkedIn, I had it on my paper to remember to bring it. So the one thing with social media, I would just caution all of you too, if you have a goofy social media account or post goofy things, they really do search there and look for you. So I think you need to be cognizant of how you post or how you word things. So be careful with what your account is, not necessarily LinkedIn, but some of the other ones that you have. The other thing too is, don't be afraid to send a letter to the deans or associate deans or whatever in whatever area you're interested, like the radius you talked about, because even though there might not be the position here and now for you, they might want to store your data because they're already thinking about 3 and 5 year goals for their college or their university, and you might be the perfect fit. So don't ever think that, you can't send an email to somebody because of their position or stature. Feel free to do it and attach your resume or your CV. That would be good.
I think I would voice a little bit of a caution about the small circle approach. I think that the world we live in, you have to be, and I have 2 kids, college age, you've got to be big, you've got to be broad. You can't, we have graduate students and we have stories of graduate students who came here, in the Midwest and Ohio and area. There's a lot of attributes. There's a lot of good reasons why somebody would want to stay here and make a career of it. But the opportunities just may not be here. I left another country to come here and get a job. I applied all over Canada, the US. We have students who are interested in going international. I think you really have to be broad in your search. Now, that doesn't mean you apply to every job everywhere in the world. You need to be able to make sure you're the right fit, as we talked about before. Are you a good match to that institution? Can your cover letter highlight how you fit there, how you can make a contribution to that particular institution or program? But you need to be really searching wide and deep. And I also think that have reasonable expectations that we would all like to work in a prestige R1, right, University of Michigan, or a great institution like that. But those jobs, again, are very competitive and often few in number. And people have to realize your first job won't be your last job. Even in academia, unlikely. So, be flexible and willing to look at other positions. Is it a smaller, mid-sized public university? Is it a private liberal arts school? Is it more focused towards teaching? Maybe that's where you want to be. Or you want to be more research, but that might be the best fit to get you started. Academics tend to be highly mobile. They will move around if they have opportunities. So you may end up at the University of North Dakota and you hate winters, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to spend the rest of your life or your career there. It just may be that first job that gets you in the door and gets you an opportunity to get the experience. And then, well, maybe you'll love it. Maybe you're going to love winters and stay here. I've been at Toledo 22 years, so that happens. But it also might be a key to that first step. And just the world we live in today, you really can't constrain yourself too much to think about, I want to work in this area at this size of an institution. You need to really look widely where the opportunities are and position yourself to go get those jobs because it's the right fit at the right time for you. And I'll be honest with you, there's luck involved here, right? I mean, finding the right match, there is a luck component to it. But like I tell folks, and I tell my kids, you just can't sit back and be lucky, right? You have to prepare yourself to take advantage of luck when it comes up. Luck being, look, there's a great position. I'm a good fit. I think I have a good case. I'm going to make a strong application, and I really think I'm going to have a good shot at it. You can't sit back and let that happen. You have to do the things we've been talking about to prepare for that. So when it comes available, and you can take advantage of luck. And it is luck. I mean, positions are created for a variety of reasons. One of my faculty could decide to retire tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen, right? And then I need to discuss with the provost and dean, I need to replace that person. And I'd be looking for a certain fit to come in the department. I can't predict that. It happens. There's no control over it. But when it does, you want to be in a position to see that job advertised and say, oh, I'm a great skill set. Maybe I don't want to stay in Toledo or go to Toledo, but maybe it's the best opportunity for me now. And, make a strong application and see how it plays out.
I think in addition to your point about being flexible, I think like for me, when I started searching, I was looking for a teaching a faculty position. And after a while, I came across a postdoc and I was like, it really had everything that I have done. It was looking for somebody who have applied qualitative and quantitative methods and was looking for somebody who done spatial analysis, has GIS. And I felt like I had all that, but I was like, am I really looking for a postdoc? Is that where I want to, is that the route I want to take? And, sometimes you need to speak to people who've been there, people who've like gone through the process. And, you have to think about where do you want to go in the end? Because sometimes there might be other positions somewhere else that might not get you to your destination, but then you feel like maybe that is a great opportunity. But then getting into the postdoc and talking to people, if you want to go into an academic position, it's the great part. Some faculty position even requires that you've done a postdoc before you can apply and get into those positions. And so I feel like you have to, decide where do you want to go? What is your end goal? And if it's a fit for you, great. And trust me, some postdocs, like the one I'm doing at Case Western, it pays more than some of the faculty positions that I applied for. So yeah, so you kind of have to be like, okay, where do I want to be? Is this experience great? I had like great teaching experience, but then I don't have a lot of publications and I don't think I have enough research experience. So I feel like this is a great opportunity to build that part of my resume in order to get into a great faculty position.
That is like great advice.
Yeah, really good advice. So one of the things I was just going to mention that if you speak a foreign language, I would make sure you highlight that on your application. So for instance, my niece-in-law, she speaks fluent Russian. So it would be, not everybody does. Or if you speak Mandarin or Cantonese, whatever, it would be really Farsi, whatever. It'd be really helpful because some places are looking for that little niche piece that you can add to It could even be academic, it could be a consulting firm that you're looking for, whatever. So I wouldn't hesitate. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that how you present your name on your resume, it's kind of a pet peeve for me because if you publish too, you want to establish your publication name right from the get-go so that all your publications, because they track them. And my name has been put differently, so I have publications and maybe they're not all linked, but what you want to do is make sure you have your name. And also too, for instance, if you have an unusual middle name, so for example, I always use this example, my nieces are all half Chinese and nephews, so their middle names are always Chinese. So just listen for a second. My niece is a music teacher and she's written operettas and plays and other things. So we encourage her name is Melissa Walsh, but her middle name is Melissa Eiling, AI-Ling Walsh. So we encourage her to always use on her resume her full middle name, whereas some people might just choose to use an initial. So do you see the difference? So in her world, music and composing and other things she does, it's better. It's kind of like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. We don't. I'm just saying, I know these seem a little far-fetched, but if you establish your name consistently from the get-go and you make it so that if you have a middle name that appeals to a different audience or whatever, it'll set you apart. And I see that a lot of you online have wonderful names. And so if you want to add your middle initial or full middle name, that's because the look of your resume really does matter a lot, because we get lots of them, say in the clinical, say the ProMedica health system, there's a lot of competition for residency programs and other things. So if you have many to choose from, you're going to take the ones that are just absolutely stellar. So again, I just highlight that. And I can't tell you how many resumes and cover letters I've cleaned up for students and they've been successful in getting their position. So I would just have you think of all those little things. Also too, make sure you proofread your resume. Don't have misspellings. Oftentimes in the vascular world, there's stroke and it changes it to stoke. So be real careful. Or we're doing a webinar with one of the cardiologists local. His first name's Brian, and somehow it came out Brain. So, even if you do spell check, I know those are silly things, but they do connote attention to detail. So you want to make sure it's crystal clear and everything should line up clearly with your resume or CV. So those are the key things, so that it's easy to read, easy on the eye, and that first impression is what you really need to make to secure the position. So sorry, didn't mean to go off tangent, but I did want to say Case Western Reserve is my alma mater. My master's is from there, so I know that area well, and I practiced at UH for many years.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. Connection right there. So wrapping this up, like those are really good points, especially just with that first impression, and with everything so virtual and the first thing you see is your resume, you have to make sure it's top notch. So those are like definite great points for that. And just wrapping this up with this one last question, pretty open-ended. What is something you wish you knew prior to starting your job search?
I'll let the others answer that because I'm too old to remember my first job search. So I don't know. I've just been very fortunate. So I guess I can't think of something. I saw it on your list. I made my own list ahead of your questions. So sorry, I can't. I don't know. Please answer.
Wow, that is kind of an interesting question. I guess you never know where you're gonna find where that match is gonna happen. If you would have asked me coming out of graduate school that I would be working in a mid-sized public institution in the state of Ohio, I would never have thought that. That really wasn't what I envisioned where I'd end up. So I think the message I mentioned before is, and I was doing a broad kind of matching up with jobs of all different institutions, but you just never know. And I think that goes the same for, we've been talking about networks and connections. You never know. You might make a connection at a meeting or be on a webinar with somebody and make that connection. And I can tell you a funny story so I applied to Toledo originally in 1997, and I was not hired. I have a rejection letter from one of my current colleagues who wrote that letter, and they hired somebody else. A few years later, I applied for a different job here, got hired. I came in 1 year, and then I got a tenure track position. But we joke all the time. I'm the department chair now. I have one of my colleagues who wrote a rejection letter for me early on in my career. But it just emphasizes you don't know exactly how that's going to work. So doing the best to cover all your bases, making all these connections is very important. And I really want to emphasize one thing. We're in this crazy virtual world, right? And it's stressful and difficult for everyone, but don't let that be a barrier for you to continue your efforts and think of all the good advice we've given you and the steps you need to take. So you can't go to a conference and you can't network, right? So I'm telling my graduate students, let's find a virtual meeting. That's all there is available to you, but it's still a way of making those connections, because you just can't write off the whole year and say, well, it's just too difficult or challenging in this virtual world, to get my name out there, to give a presentation, to follow up with a contact or a network or go to a talk. Well, you've got to take advantage of that. I know there's a lot of Zoom overload, but you've got to start still taking those opportunities with what you have available to you. That's all we have right now. And try to use those to your advantage, because you don't want months or a year to go by where you just haven't done any of that, and then you try to build it back up when hopefully we're back to somewhat of a quasi normal type of working environment, whenever that's going to happen. That jobs are still going to be available, folks are still going to be hiring, they're still going to be looking for graduate students coming out of pipelines. And so you need to be positioned. Don't sort of get yourself too focused or wound up on this COVID pandemic crazy world we live in, and it's just not going to provide you the opportunities to best position yourself. Find what works and continue to do that, because you don't want to sit the sidelines. Because I tell you, there will be other graduate students out there who won't be sitting on the sidelines and will be going after those jobs, and maybe you were the right person, and you just failed to sort of take that opportunity.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a difficult question. So one thing that like I learned through the process is to spend a lot of time on your application materials. Don't rush to apply. It's like sometimes we see the job you want to apply by the end of the day. Take enough time to work on your materials and make sure that if you are the one hiring, you'll be pleased with what you are sending to somebody. Spend time to read over it and over again. And the career services people were very helpful. I think sometimes, especially for PhDs, people like career services for undergrads who are now like getting out and they need the help. But we can also use, because I had them look at my resume, and the comment and input that they gave were really great. You would see a difference once like somebody who is a professional and does that looks at it and gives you input. You see that it looks different. And over time, you see some improvements in your application materials. You read it and you feel like, oh yeah, this is really great. And then also, I think something that I learned also was that no experience is small. Like sometimes you feel like, oh, this is just something little that I did. You never know what they are looking for. It might be that little thing that will draw somebody's attention to your resume. So every experience that you've had, even if you were just invited into a class as a guest lecturer, it's important to note it. If you volunteered, it's important. And also, even if you've been in leadership positions, I think those are some things that I didn't do that I wish I would have done if I was in graduate school. And I think the last thing I would have done if I was in graduate school is apply for any like small scholarships, even if it's like $500 from graduate school. It shows that at least you can write some grant application and get some fund, even though it's not NSF. It's still like something that you've done, and you show that you are capable of getting funding somewhere else. So those are some things that I wish I could have done to like with my resume. And if it's $100, $200, 300, in the end, if you get 10 of those, it's like, if it's 500, that's 5,000. And it shows like you are putting in effort to fund your research.
I think everybody gave really good points. So just do your homework. So by do your homework, I would say really invest in, if it's an academic institution, know what their mission statement is. Some places are getting away from mission statements, but know if there is one, or what their main focus is, or if they're going to be growing interdisciplinary programs, or know what their future is or what their top initiatives are. Really do your homework to know their key strategies, their buzzwords, all the kinds of things that you can mimic and or address clearly. I think, and both of you brought up really good points that I don't think I can add anything else to that besides the idea of homework and getting very well prepared. So great idea too, to have the career services help, because the cleaner, the nicer, the more consistent your resume, the best. And the only other lingering thought here on my list was to keep track of your electronic portfolio. So for instance, you just mentioned you taught a class, so keep track of the syllabus that you used, or syllabi if you're doing multiple things. So you really want to be careful to keep track of that, because you're not going to have it downstream. And if somebody will say, give me an example of this, or can you show me an exemplar from, like you had said, your writing they had asked for. So just some other things. I would keep, start to build your portfolio electronically. That's it.
I think one last thing for, the international students, I don't know, but for me, at some point, I was like, is my accent going to be a problem? Like, would that, stop me from getting a position or doing what I feel I could do? I just want to encourage you that, if you're good at what you do, you know what you're talking about. It's not difficult for people to understand and hear what you're saying. And just the past couple of weeks, I've been doing focus group on Zoom. And initially I was like, what if they don't hear what I'm saying? What if the transcription doesn't come out great? But it was never an issue. And, just once you put in the work, you put in the effort, trust that you will get in. Don't let that discourage you from applying for some positions and feel like, can I really teach? Will students understand what I'm saying? They would. Once you know what you're teaching, they would understand it.
Thank you so much. And actually, we are done early. So thank you again to the panelists. It was excellent advice, good questions, and I hope that the members here really took it all in, especially those who are starting their job search or have been doing it. So it's probably some new advice and pointers that you picked up as well. And if they have any questions, could they reach out to you just freely? Of course, that will definitely help a lot. And I'm trying to see who put, oh, there we go. So Abigail, she said, when you put in the work, when you put in the effort, trust that it will get done. You have a quote, also, just to let you know. You have a quote, and that was a good quote. And we can actually end it right off of there. So thank you again. Thank you, GSA members. And hopefully we will see you next month. Thank you again, panelists. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Take care.
Take care.